Hello, hello, this is Christina Waschko and you're watching Motherpreneur TV. Information, inspiration and entertainment from mothers to mothers. Now, would you agree when I say being afraid is part of human nature, isn't it? I mean, being afraid can save our life. And also, being afraid can hold us back from experiencing some pretty awesome things in our life. Agreed? Yeah? So if you have your own personal issue with being afraid and being held back by that pit in your stomach, then please stay with us because this episode is for you. I'm going to introduce you to a lady who knows, yes, she knows fear firsthand. She faced the fear of dying and leaving her 3 small children behind. My guest is the divorced mother of 3. She is one of the original internet marketers, and this lady built her business from 0 to wow. She had it all and she lost it all due to an E. coli bacterial infection that left her in hospital for 63 days. Now, if anybody knows about how to deal with fear and how to take fear by its horns, it is the amazing, inspirational and also motivational Wendy McClelland. Wendy is a certified guerrilla marketing coach and she is the author of 27 Steps to Freedom. What learning to walk again taught me about success in business and life. Enjoy. So what was that with the princess and the
Irish princess and the Scottish queen in my family genealogy?
That is so you. I'm speaking with the royal now.
I don't know about that, but I'll try to be regal.
All right. Okay. All right. Okay. Off we go. Wendy, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Can't tell you how excited I am to be here. I've been wanting to meet you in person for such a long time. And excited to have both of us, our energy and our excitement for life in the same room.
And I hope I didn't disappoint you when you said, oh, meeting you live.
Oh, no, absolutely. No, I've always said you're gorgeous and I love your, it's just, you know, it's that inner energy that you're drawn to and that you absolutely have. So excited to be here.
Thank you. Congratulations on 27 Steps to Freedom. This is awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wendy, you have been a very, very successful woman. Everything been honky-dory. Your life was fantastic. You made money, you created a wonderful business, and then...
Summer of 1999, my kids got a bit of a stomach bug. They got better. I got the stomach bug. I didn't get better. And I kept getting sicker and sicker. And I was losing 2 or 3 pounds a day. I had bleeding sores in my throat. I couldn't hardly walk. And I actually had to give up custody of my kids to my ex-husband and his new wife and shut the business down because I felt like I was dying. But the doctor couldn't tell me what was wrong. Finally one night I phoned a friend. This is after about 6 weeks of seeing the doctor almost every other day. I phoned a friend and I said, I can't even walk. It feels like my back is breaking. You've got to get me to the hospital. So my girlfriend took me in and they couldn't get a blood pressure reading because I'd been hemorrhaging so much for the past 6 weeks. I had no blood pressure. So what it turned out to be was E. coli had gotten into my body and had eaten away 90% of the lower 3 vertebrae and 2 discs, 1 kidney, scarred my corneas and gave me brain damage. So I was given massive blood transfusions that first night and shipped into Vancouver General Hospital for 63 days and 8 specialists, numerous tests, and they put what's called a PICC line right into my heart to infuse me with the antibiotics. And I left the hospital in a full body cast and plaster from my neck to my knees and went and lived with my mom and dad for a period of months because the cast was helping fuse the bone fragments back around the spinal cord. And so I had to learn how to do everything again. I had to learn how to walk, to read. I went back to grade 1 books, crossword puzzles, math books, because my brain had been so damaged. And I still have memory losses, so I'm on a couple of nonprofit boards and I'm always the minute taker because I take compulsive notes anyway. So they kind of said, you can take the notes because I have to take compulsive notes because I do forget things. Mm-hmm. But, you know, this is something I work with. So, yeah, the book is about my story of recovery and rebuilding my life. And the reason it's 27 steps is my mom and dad, from their front door to the end of the driveway, it's 27 steps. And I knew if I could do that in one go, I was on my way. And from It took about 3 weeks to do it in one go, but that day that I got to the end of the driveway and I was able to rub the pine needles of this pine tree they have at the end of their driveway in my hands and smell it, and pine now always to me means freedom, like it's just this weird thing in my brain. But so each one of those steps I've kind of taken as a life lesson of how do you overcome obstacles and how do you get past traumas in your life. And that's what the book's about.
I read this and it's so raw, it is so honest, and it's so, oh my God, she did what? Oh my God, I can't even imagine, and hopefully I will never ever experience what you experienced. Let me ask you, why now? Why did you decide to write it now?
I finally felt safe enough to share the story. It's a traumatic story to relive. I had kind of wanted to put it out of my head. It took me 5 years after my hospital stay to request my medical records so I could read through exactly what was done to me, what happened, what I said, what I did during that time. And I had to work through a lot of stuff that happened that I had no control over. And then I also needed to feel strong again. I needed to feel like if I put my story out there, I wasn't going to feel vulnerable and afraid. So it was the right time to share the story.
Now, I don't want to go into all the 27 steps because we want you to read this, but what would be your top 3 steps?
The first step that I would share is forgiveness, and that's forgiving yourself and forgiving others. And the second one would be to ask for help. It can be really tough for us sometimes to do that. And then the third one is actually the final step in the book, and that is sharing what you've learned.
And that's why I wrote the book, and that's why I love to talk to people about how you overcome things and what I've learned, and maybe it will work in their lives too. Because I think we all have so many amazing things inside of us, and we have an obligation to make this world a better place. And whether that means, like me, write a book, or it means you go to your local seniors home with your dog and let the people that live there enjoy your dog. You know, whatever it is that makes you feel alive and feel like this is my purpose, why I was put here on this planet, that's what you should do.
Do you think we need to be down first before we realize we have the potential to lift ourselves up?
I don't think you have to go that far. Trust me, you don't want to go there. If you can get this lesson in an easier way than I did, take it. You know, I think people, and I talk a bit about this in the book, is I had to really face some difficult fears. And for me, of course, number 1 was dying. Number 2 was not being able to walk again. And so I needed to really investigate those fears. And I think a lot of times, we've talked about this, you and I, is people are afraid, but they don't know what they're afraid of.
Yeah. Oftentimes, though, fears are things that we haven't even really identified. We just know that when we think of something, there's this awful feeling in the pit of our stomach. So one strategy that I used while I was going through my recovery, and especially today as I challenge myself to do other things I'm afraid of, is I figure out, what is it I'm scared of? Am I scared of looking foolish? Am I scared of losing money, taking too big a risk? Once I've identified what I'm really afraid of, then I can break it down into actionable steps to do the thing that is causing me the fear. And oftentimes when we actually identify the fear, we name it, we write it down, we make a list of the things that we're afraid of around it. People will laugh. My family won't support me. Make a list of all those things. And then once you know what they are, you can work to overcome them. You can create a strategy so that you start to surround yourself with more positive people. You tune out the negative voices and you learn what else you need to learn to take the action that you're thinking about. So getting over your fears, it's not just a matter of saying, oh, I'm fearless. It's a matter of creating a plan so that you can get over the fears.
Coming back to when you had to face your fears of perhaps never to walk again, to die. Yeah. What did you do?
I faced them head on. Right. And in the book I talk about what I was able to do by, I thought, okay, if I die, which is the biggest fear, yeah, what does that look like? And for me, my own mom had died when I was 8 years old, so I kind of knew what that looked like. But I had an amazing dad, and I knew my kids had a great dad, and they had my parents in their life, and they have lots of amazing relatives around them. So I knew my kids wouldn't be abandoned. I knew my kids knew how much I loved them because I was always telling them and we were doing things together. And I knew I could leave something for them, so I could make a video, I could leave a letter, like my mom left a letter for me when she was dying. And so, you know, I could do that so that they would remember me, and I could ask certain friends to have certain roles in my children's lives.
And so when I faced that and I kind of created this life for my children without me, I was okay with it. I was like, okay, I've got this plan in place. If something happens, my biggest fear, of course, is leaving my children, but I know I'm not leaving them alone. And so I went right to the bottom of it, and I cried a lot, and it was really hard. But I had to do it so I could sleep well, and so I could feel at peace if the worst was to happen.
Gosh, I can't, being a fellow mother, of course, that was probably the hardest thing, but great step. I love this. Really face the fears head on, and you know what I always say, make a list. What is the worst case scenario?
Exactly.
What is the worst thing that can happen? And write it down, look, think about it, face it, and then honestly taste yourself, yeah, is that bad or not? Brilliant, yeah. Really nice. I really appreciate that you shared that. How do you see yourself with 27 Steps to Freedom? I mean, you are the marketing expert. I'll introduce you, but what would you rather be known as?
I would like to be known as someone who inspires and motivates other people to take positive action.
Awesome. Now, any parting words now? You're an action, I'm action girl, you're action girl? No,
I'm fearless girl.
Fearless girl and action girl, so, all right. Action girl and fearless girl. All right, parting
From
words.
fearless girl to you, I'm encouraging you to go out today and do something that scares you just a little bit. Something you've always wanted to try but haven't. And you know, for some of you, I know that could mean ordering a different drink at Tim Hortons than you normally do because you're nervous about any kind of change in your life. Make a little change, feel the exhilaration in your chest, and you will know that feeling the next time you do something else that scares you. Little tiny steps, and you can make positive change too.
Love it. So, fearless girl and action girl are wishing you an actionable day today.
Yes, a fearless day.
Wendy, thank you so much. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Now, isn't she just amazing? I loved all her tips. Do you? Actually, do you have your own tips and tricks on how to deal with fear, how to get over that pain in the stomach of that's holding you back? Yeah, you want to do something, but no. Please go and share your thoughts, your tips, and your strategy with us below the video. And also, if you enjoyed this episode and if you enjoyed Wendy's tips, please go and share it with your circle of friends so they can enjoy it too. Also, you can subscribe to weekly episodes here on Motherpreneur TV. Awesome! And with this, our time is up. Thank you so much for spending time with me. I look forward to seeing you again next week. And until I do, remember, we are more than just mothers. We are an inspiration to ourselves, to our families, and to the world.